Welcome back to the channel. Resuming from where chapter 3 ended, Zavy calls a meeting of humans from 13 different worlds to discuss everyone's survival. He starts by asking everyone to refer to their threats as natural enemies, also saying that the names of every world has already been decided, as he starts by sharing information about the demons of his world. Zavy tells everyone that the enemies of his world are the demons, 47 demon kings and their armies controlled by the great demon king. He also calls the name of his world the Magic Forces world. Kayla continues by introducing the natural enemies of her world as well. As we already know, it's the machine life form created by humans that went wild and began to multiply without limits. Kayla's world is called the Machine Rule World. Everyone else then introduced their natural enemies as we got to know the names of each world as well. Starting from Parasite World, whose natural enemies are mysterious parasite life forms that attach and kill humans. Giant World, whose natural enemies are giants that enslave and devour humans, as we saw in chapter 3. Misfortune World, whose natural enemies are disasters known as calamities, basically massive Godzilla-like kaijus that wiped out most of humanity, as we saw in the last chapter. Cosmic Devil World, where mankind fights a losing battle against highly advanced aliens from outer space that have invaded Earth. Wild Green World, where humanity's enemy is untamed wilderness, wild plants and animals that have grown larger and overtaken humans' presence. New Cruelty World, whose natural enemies are new humans, an evolved species of mankind whose knowledge and bodily functions have grown very big. Mad God's World, whose natural enemy is a supreme being of a religion that they refer to as God, and manifested due to humans' faith in it. Before I continue, I just want to mention that the Mad God's World does sound a lot like the broccoli tree from Mob Psycho Season 3. And in case you haven't noticed, each world is being named based on the nature of its enemy. Now continuing, Cursed Destruction World, where a corrupt curse caused the world to rot. Literally, the oceans became polluted and the stars in the sky grew cold. Creation Hell World, whose natural enemy seems to be an advanced gaming system that entices humans to play and keeps them there, playing on forever until they unalive. And it works so well that humans that have already escaped were so hypnotized by the game they couldn't even properly describe their own natural enemies. Lawless World, whose natural enemies are themselves, a world where a long war has led to the collapse of civilization, and now lawless bandits and gangs roam outside doing whatever they want. Huge Tree World, where the planet is slowly withering away because its life force is being drained by an enormous tree that's called the World Tree, making up all 13 worlds and their enemies present at the meeting. Zavy then asked if anyone had any idea on how they could deal with the situation, to which no one could answer. Zavy then thinks to himself that everyone's silence is understandable. He thinks that each natural enemy of the other worlds is a match for the demon army, and that the reason he was able to survive this long, along with Hallow and Kayla, was because the enemies always ended up fighting each other, just like the giants to the mole monsters and the AI robot to the demon commander Kiva. Zavy was about to call off the meeting before Hallow raises his hand to make a very obvious statement. Hallow says, why don't they just make their enemies fight each other? To which most of the people at the meeting seemed to look very pessimistic about. A man from the Cosmic Devil World insulted Hallow for his idea, but Hallow didn't back down and continued to try and convince everyone. Zavy, Hallow along with Kayla are the only ones to have encountered multiple natural enemies from different worlds, not to mention them witnessing the enemies fight each other, as I've mentioned before in the case of the giants against the mole monsters and the demons against the AI robots. Zavy also thinks that the natural enemies were able to deal serious damage to each other, but the Cosmic Devil World guy still thinks the idea is foolish and says that the aliens, the natural enemy of his world, is simply too powerful even for other worldly natural enemies, which gives Zavy an idea. Zavy now intentionally starts an argument by saying even if all the enemies of the other world band together, they still wouldn't be a match for the demons, and continues by hyping up how powerful the demons are compared to the enemies of the other world. Zavy's plan worked as men from other worlds started to argue and wearily defend the powers of their own natural enemies. Each of them started to state that their own natural enemies, whether the AI, the kaijus, or the giants, would easily destroy other natural enemies, which leads to start an actual fight between the men of each worlds defending their natural enemy, leaving Kayla and all the other women of the other worlds thinking how stupid the men are. Zavy then draws to a conclusion, stopping the fight, that with a little information about each other, they were able to start a fight amongst themselves, and says that even if the possibility is zero, they should at least try this method with their enemies and also make them fight each other, as he approves Hallow's idea. Kayla then thinks of how even in a dire situation, Hallow and Zavy can still be optimistic and find hope. The manga then narrates how natural enemies are absolute predators of a particular species, and that the species have no chance of surviving against their natural enemies. However, if natural enemies were pitted against each other, the results would be different. As we're shown the fight between Kiva and the AI robot that we left in chapter 2. Kiva dominated and defeated the robot, but even he took a considerable amount of damage after winning. Kiva then says he'll report all of this to Lord Jachi, the 11th Demon King, and his direct superior. He also blamed all of the damage he took on Hallow, because remember, Hallow made the robot attack him, as he swears he'll get his revenge, ending the chapter. So we finally get a solution, or at least an idea, of how the humans can try and survive all of their enemies. However, don't forget that even though not all the natural enemies are intelligent, it is still a possibility that the enemies could negotiate with each other and work hand in hand to completely wipe out the humans. But that's only a guess for now. Thanks for watching till this point. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.